This is Cadillac Unscripted on 107.9 CDY. We spend a half hour talking about local things, good things going on locally every Saturday morning at this time. It's sponsored by Independent Bank. My co-host is Katy Huckle. And last week we talked about an arm of something that the Rotary Club is involved in. Last week we talked about the Big White Pine Race, which is coming up in October.
Bike ride, yeah.
But now, not race, ride, because it's not a race. But now we're going to talk a little more broadly, generally, about the Rotary Club and how they help the community and how you can come up with ideas to help the community.
That's right.
Yeah.
So Rotary does amazing things in Cadillac. These folks are doers. They get it done. They identify needs in the community and fulfill them. And we've got Randy with us. What is your role with the Rotary Club?
Well, thanks, Katy, and thank you, Rich, for having me. So I was the president of the Rotary Club last year. So 2020, 2021. So my official title now is past president. And I get to do a lot of fun things as past president too. But one of the great things I get to do is chair a committee that will decide our next major project.
Whoa.
And that's what we're excited about.
Whoa, they're going to put some time and money into this town. Now, Rich, we've got the Rotary Performing Arts Pavilion in City Park. We have the Kenwood bathhouses. Tell us about, so our listeners can understand the scope of what Rotary has done in town. Tell us about some of the other projects that Rotary has been instrumental with.
Yeah, so thanks, and great question. So our auction actually began in 1984, so we've been doing it for several years now, several decades. We've actually raised approximately $1.8 million that we've given to the community in that time for a various number of projects, just like a few that you mentioned.
I'm getting the chills, Randy.
Yeah,
it's a lot of money.
Me too, every time I talk about it.
Right.
And you mentioned some great projects. Our project last year, the proceeds from the auction went to Veterans Serving Veterans,
oh boy,
which is a great organization in town that, of course, provides support and need for our veterans in the community.
Yeah.
And the project, the funds went to building a pavilion on their property so they can host community events and just have a place for people to go and gather.
This is Roger Bandine's brainchild, isn't it?
This sure is.
It's got him all over it.
It sure does. And Roger and everyone at Vets Serving Vets was a great partner. They do great things over there, and we were excited to work with them.
Oh, well, thank you so much for bringing that dream to Cadillac. I know the Paul McMullen race was just there, and everyone had wonderful things to say about the venue.
Yeah.
You guys were part of that.
Yeah, great area. We did a project recently for the WEX. We helped them basically replace their HVAC system, so that was a couple years ago.
So that's not as exciting, but it needed to be done.
Not as exciting, but that's such an asset for our community, and for us to be able to help in any small way that we could was really rewarding for us. So,
oh, good.
You bet.
Okay.
And then the other one I wanted to mention is when you're driving on 115 and you see the flags.
Yeah.
We have 11 of those American flags right there by the lake.
I didn't know you guys were
Yeah,
in charge.
that was another project that was just our way to show support for our country, our vets, and just kind of a great way.
I'm telling you, Randy, those flags class up this town.
They sure do.
They do.
Yeah, and they look great.
Oh,
yeah,
they're majestic.
So we're very proud of that as well.
Oh, good work. All good stuff, Rich.
And that's just a few examples of what Rotary has done in the community over the years. Probably the highest profile examples, but there have been many, many more that people have taken advantage of and families have been able to enjoy in the 37 years since this all started.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a few in front of me here, but, we helped the YMCA. We built an activity center at Camp Torrenta several years ago. We helped the Wexford Historical Museum, that copper dome that everybody sees when they pass by. That was a Rotary project. So there's been a lot of, we've had a lot of fingers in the community and a big footprint, and so we're proud of that.
I'm telling you, Rich, when you are the president of the Rotary Club, it is like having a second job without the W-2, isn't it?
It sure is.
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work, but it's very rewarding. Okay. We really believe in service above self, and to serve the community any way that we can. We're very proud of that.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
So tell us about what the community needs to bring to you, ideas.
Yes.
Okay.
So now we have opened up our window for proposals for our next major project.
Oh, boy.
So any organization out there that wants to submit a proposal, they can do that. So if you go to our website, and it's cadillacrotary.org, you can see the criteria and requirements for the proposal or for the project. But just a couple things I wanted to highlight is that our proposals are evaluated based on, is it really helping the community, serving a need?
Okay.
Does it benefit a large cross section of residents in our community? Is it visible? Kind of a tribute to our community and the spirit of our community. And one of the things that we always tell people when they write a proposal is there somebody that can take that project over once we're done? Because Rotary will be done with it once the project's done, so they have to be able to take it over and hopefully sustain that.
I see. So who's going to maintain it?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
So tell us a little bit about that, because of course the city maintains the pavilion, the Kenwood.
Yep.
And when you did the WEX, it would be whatever management company.
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
And that's usually what happens. So like the veterans serving veterans would now, of course, maintain the pavilion that they're building. And then something else that we always ask is if we can have help from the organization during the auction, because it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to put together, to procure all those items that we have for bid. So any proposal, we're saying, okay, if your proposal is accepted, we'd like some help from that organization serving on our auction committee and helping any way that they can.
Now that's something new. I think that is so wise. It's put your skin in the game.
Yeah, and it is new. It really helped see it when the veteran serving veterans helped us. They served on our committee. They helped gather so many items. They were tremendous. And we thought, you know what, this is so great. Let's build this into the requirements. Because I know organizations also want to be a part of, not just monetary, but they want to help. They want to get in there and say, what can we do to help this auction be a success?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, you're giving lots of people a big boost in this town. I love it.
Yeah.
And I think with those partnerships come friendships too.
Oh, absolutely. So we build connections with all of the organizations that we've helped, and we help them sometimes more than once, many different projects at different scales and levels. But you're absolutely right. We build those networking, those connections, those relationships, which are so important.
Great. So have you received any proposals yet? Do you know there are folks out there that need some money from you? And can we talk about that?
I have not received any yet.
Okay.
So the deadline, I do want to stress the deadline is October 1st.
Oh, boy.
And so that's why we want to get the word out, because the more proposals we have, the more we can look at and see what the need is and pick one. But for those listening, if you want to submit a proposal, the criteria is on our website.
Okay.
And I gave the address previously, cadillacrotary.org. It's on our Facebook page. And basically, you write a proposal. There's information on what should be included in that proposal. And then you just send that to the address in care of me, Randy Hill, at the P.O. box listed, or you can send it to my email, which is listed at the bottom of that as well.
And obviously, if you're putting documentation together, and I always tell kids who are applying for scholarships, be specific.
Yes.
The more specific you are, the better chance it will be really, truly considered.
Exactly right. So we should be able to read a proposal and know exactly what you're asking for in terms of what's the timeline, the budget, what exactly do you need. So yeah, be as specific as you possibly can.
And who the project will serve.
And who it will serve.
Absolutely.
Yep.
You say specific, and I think and descriptive.
Yes.
More is more.
That's a very good point.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Wow. So do you ever do this? Do you ever get multiple high quality projects and you want to give it to everybody, but you only have so much money? And then does that person go into like a pecking order, or that organization? How does that work, Randy?
So how it works is we finalize, depending on the number of proposals, we finalize basically the top 3. And there's a committee that looks through those. And then those go to the whole Rotary Club to vote.
Oh,
and
nice.
So the club will vote, and obviously the most votes will be the one that we support that year. But other organizations can still apply for funds throughout the year. We have something called Rotary Charities, which is really, it's a separate nonprofit 501c3, but it's a part of Rotary, and we have funds each year that we donate to and give to organizations for needs. So some organizations in the past have applied for the major project, didn't receive the project, but they got funds throughout the year to help them for other initiatives.
I see.
In years past, I can see there being very strong opinions about one project versus another. Did it ever come down to an arm wrestling contest?
We never arm wrestle, but I think we were pretty close to it.
Okay.
Because everybody has, all of the proposals are high quality, there's high need. You want to give all of them the finances and the funding, but of course it has to come down to one. So we definitely have good discussion, good debates, and so forth.
And
but
people
at the end
have
of the
their passions, don't they?
Exactly. But I was just going to say, at the end of the day, though, as a club, we're always united behind the final vote, the final project, and what we do.
Sure, understood.
Yeah.
Okay, question. So I have a project, let's say, and I fill out the proposal. Do I get to present the proposal live?
Great question.
Okay.
I'm glad you said that. Yes. So I mentioned that proposals are due October 1st. And then the committee will go through the month of October and pick the top 3. And then those ones will present to the club in November.
Oh, so
Yeah.
when they vote, they really...
Yes.
Okay.
So they'll present their idea and their proposal. The club will ask them questions. And then depending on how many we have, we will do 2, 3, 4 top ones. And then we vote from there. So that gives the club more information.
And not a lot of time goes by between when those proposals are presented and when the decision is made.
Exactly.
So, numbers of proposals that you get. What's the least number that you have had, and what's the most you have had?
Oh, that's a great question. I know, we didn't have the auction in 2020 because of the pandemic. I know the year before that, I think we received 8 proposals. So I couldn't tell you the most, but I think that's up there, usually 8 to 10.
Okay.
Well, you would want to be prepared if you were presenting to the Rotary Club.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh,
'Cause
my.
They ask
your
great
homework.
questions.
Do your homework.
Yes, I know it. And you know what they say? If you talk to folks in public speaking who do that, like
Yeah.
questions from the crowd,
Right.
they'll say, if you don't know the answer, you pause and say, I'm going to get that information
Let
to
me
you.
get back to you. I will find the answer.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
They say, for sure, what you don't do is punt.
Yeah, right.
You
That
don't
doesn't
just
work
start-
too often.
It
Right?
doesn't. You start rambling, and yeah. So,
Right.
and most people in Rotary are in a business leadership position of some type and kind. You know, these are some polished folks
You're right,
in the
right, right.
audience. So, and they know so much about the community. So, watching the Rotary Club in action is like watching ants build something. That no one has to take all the credit.
Yeah,
I suppose
right.
the queen ant does, but you know what I mean. It's everybody working together to get it done.
It's true, and I'm glad you said that. Yeah, nobody takes credit. We a couple of years ago we established what we call our 5th Tuesday service day. So when there's 5 Tuesdays in a month, that 5th one, instead of a meeting, is we get out in the community and we actually get our hands dirty.
Okay.
Because we're really about not just providing funding and resources, which we do and we love to do, but we also want to get out there and actually do some community service, some physical activity, and show that we're Rotarians that not just talk, but we act as well.
Oh, well, you guys are definitely in action in this town. I know it. We're going to come back with more on Rotary projects. Randy Hill is with us in the studio, and we're going to talk to you more about the amazing things the Rotary Club is doing in Cadillac right after this.
Cadillac Unscripted Part 2 on 107.9 CDY, talking with Randy Hill. Randy, his day job is at Baker College. However, he's representing the Rotary Club here today, and we're talking about requests for proposals for Rotary's major project, which the deadline is coming up October 1st. And Randy, for folks who might be interested in Rotary membership, we're hearing about all the great things the organization does in the community, but someone who is not in Rotary who might like to be a part of it. How does that happen? Are you actively recruiting?
We are always recruiting. We have a great club, and we always say, the more hands, the more people, the more work we can do, and better. So absolutely recruiting. You can go to our website, CadillacRotary.org, or our Facebook page has contact information. You can write to us, but we also meet every Tuesday at Evergreen Resort at noon. So you can just show up and say, I'm a guest, I would love to check you out, and you can sit in on a meeting and see if it's something that you're interested in.
With a bunch of nice people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Bunch of doers.
And we'll even buy you lunch. So,
I love it. Can you tell us a little bit about your membership? I mean, we're seeing, with the pandemic and kind of everything that's going on, service clubs, we're seeing dwindling, aren't we?
We are.
How's it going, Randy?
I have to say it's been going really well.
Good.
When the pandemic hit, we had to switch from, of course, in-person meetings to virtual. And so attendance at the meetings kind of declined a little because of just the virtual space, and people had a hard time finding room to do that and so forth. But since we've been back in person, we've seen more and more people.
Good.
And even during that virtual time, we still did service projects. We still served the community as best we could. So really, we've maintained our membership, and it's been a very strong membership since.
Wow.
Yeah.
The biggest fundraiser for the club, besides your donations, and I know you've had people bequeath the club money as well, would be your auction, correct?
Yeah, our auction is our biggest fundraiser.
Okay.
And so, like we said, 75% of the auction funds go to this major project.
Wow.
And then I'd probably say our White Pine Ride that you mentioned at the beginning of this segment is one of our biggest fundraisers too. And so, kudos to the committee that put that together. We've had a couple of successful rides so far.
Oh my gosh, Mark Lagerway was on fire about that.
Mark is very
ride.
passionate about that. He's a cyclist himself, and he's done a fantastic job of leading that group and putting this event on.
I think a strong organization keeps doing what it's always done well and grows by doing new things well, and that is exactly what the club is doing. Would you agree?
Absolutely. We're always trying to find a new event or project that fits a need in the community or a niche that maybe we haven't hit before. And we found that there's a lot of bike riders around here, and we have some great trails. So why not do some kind of fundraising event where we can get families out on the trails riding and so forth. So
yeah, we already have the infrastructure, so let's do something with it.
Exactly.
So this is my favorite nonprofit question that I ask people.
Sure.
I can't wait to hear, especially as a former president. If money were no object, what would Rotary do next in Cadillac?
Oh, that is a hard question.
Someone might be out there with a checkbook getting ready to write a big check, Randy.
I don't necessarily have an answer, except I think we would do something similar to what we did last year. And if you're familiar with our centennial celebration, we hit 100 years last year.
Congratulations!
Thank you. Yeah, and we gave 25 different nonprofits and other organizations $100,000 each. Oh, I'm sorry. No, not 100,000 each. We gave 100,000 total. We split 100,000 total with the 25 groups. So I think if I had more money, what I would do is just give out more money to the nonprofits and the organizations in this community that truly make a difference.
And if I recall correctly, that none of those folks knew they were getting a check. Correct?
They did not. That was a surprise, and our goal was to have a live celebration party, announce it. Of course, we couldn't do that. But we were able to surprise them. We told them to come down. We were just going to talk about their organization a little bit.
I'm getting the chills.
And then we surprised them with varying amounts, but with a check each, and we made a nice video about that and so forth. So,
in a year, Randy, when these nonprofits were having to cancel events and cancel fundraisers and scrambling and trying to find state grants, you were the heroes again.
Well, yeah, and what was great is there was no strings attached to it. It was, here's the money, you can use it for operations, you can use it for whatever you see fit in your biggest needs. So,
and so much of other monies that these organizations go to get are restricted.
Exactly.
I mean, they'll say to you, well, it can't be used for equipment. You're like, well, what if I need a new computer for the nonprofit? So it was a gift more than money in so many ways. It helped them with their momentum and it's keeping their doors open.
Yeah, and even if it was just a small amount, any little bit helps, and I think they were just very appreciative of whatever we could give them. So yeah.
Who got to hand them the checks? You?
It depended. There was like 4 or 5 of us that sort of split up duties.
Did you feel like Santa?
Kind of, yeah. I kind of did, but just seeing their reactions and the emotion, and it meant a lot to us and to them. So that was a great event.
Where did that come from? Another Rotary Club? How did you get the idea on the Centennial to do that? Because that's just wow.
Well, I mean, like I mentioned, we have that separate Rotary Charities who gives out X thousands of dollars each year depending on the requests that come in, and we just had the money because it was a good year in the markets, and we had the money, and we said, this would be a great way to celebrate 100 years by giving away $100,000. So, of course, it was tough because there's more than 25 organizations that could use it and need it. But as a group, we decided collectively on the 25 that we wanted to support. And
that's a lot of charities.
It is, yeah. And so we're glad that we were able to help in any small way we could.
Awesome.
So now, this year, you can go back to fundraising the way we did pre-2019 and before. So... let's talk a little bit about what your hopes are for the next couple of months.
Well, like I said, really our biggest fundraiser is the auction, and so I guess I hope in a way that we can go back to what it was like in 2019 when we had an in-person event. We did a very successful auction this past year virtually, and I'm so thankful for the committee that put that together, and we raised a lot of money for vets serving vets, but it just doesn't compare really to me. It's just to be together, right? To have
it's a fun social event.
To have fun. It's a social event, to get dressed up, to see each other. So I'm hoping that we can do that again, and of course it'll depend on the current environment and so forth. But I guess that's my goal, is to have a successful White Pine Ride, have a successful auction, and maybe have everything back to at least being in person.
So question, Randy, what if the scope and breadth of the project was so big that you couldn't cover it in 1 year? Would you allow a project to get the funded over more than 1 year, or do you really try to just one project per cycle?
We try one per cycle, but we don't have to necessarily cover all of it.
Okay.
Like we've had projects before where we contribute just a portion of it, and they get the funding from other organizations for the rest. So it wouldn't be out of the question to do one over multiple years, but typically we do 1 year, and it's either covering fully or the pavilion's a good example. So we gave a significant amount of money, but it didn't cover the cost of the pavilion, so they have to go to other places to get the rest.
Okay, I didn't realize
Yeah.
that. Wow. So
Yeah.
Rotary also does global initiatives, Rich. So polio eradication, wells, clean water was an initiative. What's the hot button right now for Rotary worldwide?
Actually, when you said polio, it's still polio.
Isn't that
because
something?
Rotary's goal is still to eradicate polio, and now there's a handful or so cases still out there, but we want to eradicate it completely. So that's the big one. And yeah, I'm glad you mentioned worldwide. Yeah, we have, I believe it's 1.2 million Rotarians around the world.
That's incredible.
In 30 something countries. I mean, it's really a global club. And when we go to conferences and so forth, and you meet Rotarians from different cities and states and sometimes countries, it's just kind of great that you have that commonality.
It is, and I think the unintended consequence of foreign exchange students is stronger foreign relations for
Exactly.
us.
Yes.
I had an exchange student, a Rotary exchange student from Venezuela, who turned out to be this amazing architect in Italy and Venezuela. I mean, she's just this beautiful, successful woman. And now Maria Jose is, in her 30s and a superstar. And it's just fun to see the impact. They come, they experience the United States and get, knee deep in it, Rich, our culture. And then they can go back and hopefully say wonderful things about our country in their country.
Yeah, that's a great story, and we found that a lot of our exchange students have great success. And that's actually one piece of Rotary that we've really missed since the pandemic, is we haven't had exchange students the past couple years, and so we hope to bring it back probably the 2022-23 year, we hope, because that's just a great program for the students, for us, the community, and so forth.
Does Rotary send students to other countries?
We do.
Okay.
Yeah, and actually we had, before the pandemic hit, we had, I know, 2 that were going to go to Brazil, different parts of Brazil, but they were unable to do that, unfortunately, because of the pandemic. So yeah, we send them out, and they also come in.
Isn't that, so I have a friend who's like 47 years old, and they had a girl, I think, from Ecuador. And she still comes and visits every summer.
Oh, they keep in touch, long after it's over. Absolutely.
Wow. Yeah, you're doing amazing stuff.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's we live in a great community, and so anything that we can do to help, we're happy to do.
And you're making it a better community. I cannot wait to see the projects on the docket and see who wins Best of Show and who gets to see their dream become a reality.
Absolutely, and I just can't wait to see the proposals and see what's coming in and the great ideas. So please, if you're out there, send them in if you have a great idea or you need some funding for a project. We'd love to take a look at it.
Free money, Rich.
This is a perfect time to circle back and talk about it again. When's the deadline? How do folks get those proposals into you?
Absolutely. So the deadline is October 1st, and like I said, you can go to our website, CadillacRotary.org. You'll see the form with the criteria and requirements for the proposal, and then you just send it to Rotary Club of Cadillac in care of Randy Hill, and the address is at the bottom, P.O. Box 481. And you can also email me, randy.hill@baker.edu.
Okay.
Local leader and Rotarian Randy Hill, thank you so much for your work on this. I can't wait to see it happen.
Absolutely. Me too. And thank you so much for having me.
Cadillac Unscripted, sponsored by Independent Bank. Join us next week, same time, same station, for more local chat on Cadillac Unscripted, 107.9 CDY.